You do not feel guilty when you squash a fly.
Man, you're on a film, man.
Pretty on camera. Oh, man, you look pretty.
Huh? You gonna cry?
What do you want?
When I say open that door, you open the door. You got it?
Hey, Wayne!
I could crush you down there!
The story opens with Andrew, a socially isolated high school student who deals with a sick mother and a father who frequently mistreats him. Having very few connections at school, Andrew chooses to purchase a camera to document his daily life moving forward. When his intoxicated father demands entry into his room, Andrew stays firm and informs him through the door that every interaction will now be captured on film. Later, he checks on his bedridden mother, Karen, and shows her the device. She offers him a kind farewell before he leaves for the day. Soon after, Andrew's cousin and only close friend, Matt, arrives to drive him to school. As they travel, Andrew explains his new filming project, while Matt sings along to the song Price Tag by Jessie J. Matt also shares various philosophical ideas from a book regarding the human will and the nature of desire, all of which Andrew records. At school, Matt stays in the vehicle while Andrew walks through the halls and the campus, documenting his typical routine. While filming the cheerleaders practicing on the field, one of the girls expresses her discomfort with being recorded. The day worsens when a group of students harasses Andrew, taking his camera and mocking its quality before roughly returning it to him. That afternoon, Matt encourages Andrew to attend a local party. Although Andrew is hesitant, Matt eventually convinces him but advises him to leave the camera behind to avoid making people uncomfortable. Back at the house, Andrew is reviewing his clips when his father, Richard, enters the room. Richard suddenly strikes Andrew and forces him to the ground, demanding absolute obedience regarding the house rules. That night, Andrew goes to the event with Matt, though the two separate once they arrive. Andrew records the dancing crowd and eventually meets Casey, a fellow student who maintains a video blog. They have a brief, slightly awkward conversation about their shared interest in filming before Matt attempts to engage her with his philosophical theories. The mood shifts when another guest accuses Andrew of recording his girlfriend. The stranger strikes the camera and spits on Andrew. Feeling humiliated and out of place, Andrew retreats to the parking lot to clean his equipment. It is then that Steve, a popular student currently campaigning for class president, approaches Andrew. He invites him to document a strange discovery he and Matt found in the woods. They reach a clearing and find a large hole in the earth emitting a low-frequency sound. Despite Andrew's hesitation, they all descend into a cavern where they encounter a massive, pulsating crystal. The crystal begins to emit a high-pitched noise. The ground trembles, and Steve's nose begins to bleed before the footage cuts to black. 3 weeks later, the group is in a backyard testing their new telekinetic skills. They have replaced Andrew's original camera since it was lost in the cave. They discover they can influence the path of a moving ball, and Andrew manages to stop it entirely mid-air using his mind, though the effort causes a nosebleed. Indoors, they practice moving Lego pieces, with Andrew showing much more precision and control than the others. It is clear the crystal has granted them significant mental abilities. When they return to the forest, they find the hole has been completely filled with dirt, and local authorities tell them to vacate the area. During the drive back, Steve and Andrew discuss their personal lives. Andrew describes how his father, a former firefighter, became an alcoholic following a career-ending injury and now takes his anger out on his family. Steve shares that his own home life is chaotic due to his parents' constant arguing and his suspicions regarding his mother's infidelity. Later that night, Andrew practices levitating his camera in secret. He hears his father on the phone, desperately trying to secure medical help for Karen as they can no longer afford her prescriptions. The following day, Andrew takes his mother to the marina for a peaceful outing. Later, while skimming stones at a lake with Matt, Andrew asks if their friendship is genuine. Matt admits Andrew was hard to connect with previously, but confirms their bond. Andrew wonders if they should push their powers further, but Matt seems indifferent. At school, Steve researches the science of telekinesis, while the trio uses their skills to play minor jokes on other students. Matt observes that their power functions like a muscle that grows stronger with exercise. They decide to take their practice to a supermarket where they move objects to confuse shoppers. However, a trick involving a pack of gum goes wrong when Matt accidentally knocks a man into a display shelf. Later at a diner, Andrew proves their durability by bending a fork against Matt's hand, explaining that they can create a mental barrier to resist impacts. Over a meal, Matt discusses his past interest in law enforcement and helping others, though Andrew finds the idea of altruism unappealing. Andrew then uses his power to rearrange food on his plate into an image to startle a waitress. In the parking lot, Steve successfully moves a woman's car to a different parking space. Despite another nosebleed, he celebrates the feat. When the owner returns confused, the boys find the situation hilarious. On the way home, a driver behind them begins tailgating and honking. Andrew reacts in anger, using his power to force the truck off the road and into a river. Steve immediately jumps in to save the man while Matt calls for help despite Andrew's protests. After the authorities arrive, Matt confronts Andrew about the danger he caused. He insists they follow 3 strict rules: never use the powers on living things, never use them while angry, and never use them in public. The next day, Matt and Andrew travel to meet Steve at a landfill, where they find him hovering high in the air. Matt attempts to join him but falls several times. Andrew, however, manages to fly on his first try. The 3 eventually master flight, soaring through the clouds and playing catch in the sky. When a plane passes too close, Steve loses his focus and falls, but Andrew catches him just in time. That night, during a sleepover at Steve's, Andrew admits he has no experience with romantic relationships. Despite the admission, he expresses how happy he is with their new lives. The next day, they talk about potential travel destinations. Steve mentions Malibu, while Andrew suggests Tibet, citing his admiration for the discipline of monks and their legends of levitation. Later, Matt visits Casey to drop off a donation for a relief fund she mentioned on her vlog. It is revealed they were once a couple, but broke up due to Matt's perceived arrogance. Casey questions his sudden interest in global issues, and while Matt tries to reconnect, she remains distant. Meanwhile, Andrew and Steve talk on a rooftop. Steve struggles with the fine motor control of his powers, while Andrew shows great finesse with the camera. They share more about their family struggles, with Steve feeling ignored by his parents and Andrew reflecting on his long-term loneliness. Steve suggests Andrew perform in the school talent show to gain confidence. On the day of the show, Andrew shows his mother his outfit and she expresses her pride. However, Richard stops him, suspicious about how Andrew is getting to school since Matt hasn't been seen at the house. Andrew manages to leave, and at the talent show, Steve introduces him to the crowd. Andrew performs a series of impressive magic tricks, levitating cards and juggling balls before walking on a high wire. The audience is amazed, and Andrew finally feels a sense of belonging. At the after-party, Andrew is treated like a celebrity and begins talking to a girl with pink hair. They eventually go upstairs together. However, Steve later finds the girl leaving the room in frustration because Andrew accidentally vomited on her. Steve begins to laugh at the situation, which causes Andrew to react with intense anger, demanding that Steve leave the room. The next day, Andrew's behavior turns darker as he uses his powers to harm a spider. Later, Richard finds Andrew's $500 camera and is furious that Andrew has been hiding an expensive item while the family struggles with medical bills. During the argument, Richard attacks Andrew, but Andrew uses his powers to pin his father to the floor. Andrew asserts his dominance, warning his father that he is now the stronger of the two, and films Richard in pain. Matt soon experiences a nosebleed, sensing that something is wrong. Elsewhere, Andrew is hovering in a thunderstorm. Steve finds him and tries to talk him down, but Andrew is inconsolable and claims he has no friends. Suddenly, a lightning strike hits Steve, sending him falling to his death. Andrew films the aftermath and Steve's subsequent funeral. Matt is suspicious of the circumstances, noting the lack of other lightning strikes in the area. When Matt confronts him, Andrew flies away. Andrew later visits Steve's grave to apologize, claiming he lost control. He returns to the original site of the cave, which is now covered in strange patterns. At school, Andrew is bullied once again for the incident at the party. In a fit of rage, he uses his mind to pull several teeth from the bully's mouth. He later shows the bloody teeth to the camera in private. At a junkyard, Andrew records a manifesto about apex predators, arguing that he is naturally superior to those around him and shouldn't feel guilt for his actions. he crushes a car to demonstrate his power. Matt later arrives at Andrew's home to stop his violent behavior, but Andrew insists he is stronger. Before leaving, Andrew uses his power to comfort his mother with a blanket. He goes to a pharmacy to get her medication, but the pharmacist requires $700 up front. Desperate, Andrew wears his father's old gear and begins a series of robberies. He attacks the local teens who once bullied him, taking their money, and then robs a gas station. During his escape, a clerk fires a shotgun, hitting a fuel tank. The resulting explosion leaves Andrew severely burned and unconscious. He wakes up in the hospital to find Richard crying. Richard tells him that Karen died during the night and blames Andrew for not being there. As Richard's yelling intensifies, Andrew's rage hits a breaking point. He blasts his father through the hospital wall, creating a massive hole. Matt senses the disaster from a distance and races to the hospital. He arrives just as Andrew is about to drop Richard from a great height. Matt catches the man before giving chase to Andrew. The situation turns into a city-wide battle. Andrew crashes a helicopter and lifts a car containing Matt and Casey into the air. Matt manages to save Casey just before the vehicle falls. He then confronts Andrew above the city, trying to convince him to fly away and start over. Andrew refuses, claiming he is an apex predator and beyond help. He throws a bus at Matt, and the two engage in a massive struggle through buildings and streets. The fight leads them to a public plaza surrounded by police. Andrew deflects their gunfire and prepares a massive telekinetic blast that threatens everyone nearby. Realizing Andrew cannot be stopped, Matt notices a statue with a steel spear. He mentally launches the spear through Andrew, killing him instantly. Matt then flees into the sky as the authorities close in. Sometime later, Matt is traveling across the world. He records a final message at a monastery in Tibet, fulfilling Andrew's dream. He apologizes for what happened and promises to find the truth behind their powers. After a final goodbye, he leaves the camera behind and walks away.